This is a one-night trip in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness in the middle of Washington's Cascades. It is up the West Fork Foss River and a series of lakes along there. We hit Trout Lake, Lake Malachite, Copper Lake, which is behind me, and Little Heart Lake. The original hope for this trip was to manage to connect a loop along with these lakes. You can hit the crest way that away and then connect with the Necklace Valley, which is a place I've been a couple times, and then come down. The trailheads are pretty close together, so then you can connect that way. It didn't end up working out that way for two main reasons. One, travel on snow is just really slow, and I knew that, but it was even slower than I was anticipating. And second, and probably more important piece, is that I encountered terrain that I deemed to be unsafe for my comfort level, a little bit past Little Heart Lake, and so I felt like it was prudent to turn around and not go any further, having encountered that. It's a fly buzzing me. But it's a gorgeous area. The weather is incredible, as you can see, and it's just super fun to explore these lakes. Hope you enjoy. This is a trip that could have several different intros depending on how the whole thing goes. First, let's look at what we hope this is going to be. I'm hoping this is going to be a loop trip, essentially a very early season high country, full send on the snow, off-trail route finding, roughly circular route trip, starting at the West Fork Foss River trailhead, going up through a series of lakes along there, and connecting over to the Tank Lakes area and Necklace Valley, a place I've been a couple times before, and coming down that way to connect the two trailheads, which are relatively close together. That's if the snow cooperates, if the weather cooperates, if I feel comfortable, if the terrain cooperates in terms of avalanche danger, all that sort of thing. How else might this trip turn out? This might simply be an exploratory venture up the West Fork Foss River, which I've never been. And so if the snow doesn't cooperate, if those things don't all line up, it'll still be great. And I just get to explore a super cool area of the Alpine Lakes Wilderness in early May. There's a lot of unknown that we're walking into here. The weather's supposed to be very nice tomorrow and the day after, so days 2 and 3. Day 1, it's supposed to rain on and off. It should stay pretty light, hoping it stays pretty light, but you never know. And it's supposed to get very, very chilly in the evenings. So we'll see for all of that. Our first stop today is Trout Lake, I think. It is 1.5 miles in, basically flat to get here, just following the river valley. It's a somewhat popular, first backpacking trip destination kind of deal. And there were 8 cars in the parking lot when I got here, and I'm curious how many of them were just going to Trout Lake versus how many were feeling rather more adventurous, like myself, and were pushing upward. Because once you get past Trout Lake, the trail just books it straight uphill, and there are no more campsites until you're almost entirely under snow cover. So anyone venturing past Trout Lake has got to be prepared for snow camping, essentially, and that's a different skill set and taste for misery. Okay, from here, we're going to follow the fairly short length of Trout Lake along this side. We're going to pass at least some of the campers that I thought were going to be here. I can hear them hooting and hollering over yonder, and then we will head straight up about 2,000 feet. You can expect to see me huffing and puffing quite a bit there. And our next stop will be Lake Malachite, the first of some of the high country lakes that should be under a layer of ice.
So that down there is probably Upper Copper Falls proper. Although I guess this whole thing might be it. But just wanted to give you a glimpse of the big waterfall, since we just got a close-up at sort of the series of cascades a little further down. Big waterfall up ahead, we're starting to see. The trillium, which is what this particular flower is called, basically from the trailhead all the way to here, has just been out in full force in bloom. That's all these blossoms down this way, and it's just been every open space full of it. Gorgeous flower. Really hoping to get more of an up-close view of that. All right, that is probably Malachite Falls. That's what that should be. Man, wish it was just a hair more open. You get to see the full thing. This might be the best view we're gonna get of it. And it probably feels like there's just been a bunch of quick shots in succession because they're all showing this waterfall. It doesn't feel that way from this end. It's just big enough and visible from far enough away that I've been able to see it for a long time. All right, first snow on the trail. Hoping it stays more or less clear for at least a little farther. Yeah, it's gonna be a whole lot of this for a while. I think we're coming right to the top of that big, big waterfall. If not this, then we're about to. And we can't see any of it. It's always amazing to me how much waterfalls spread out and disperse the water. That's a monster waterfall that we saw, and this is not a big stream. I mean, it's rushing, but that is not wide. And a tradition as old as time, the instant I get all the rain gear on, it gets sunny and all the precipitation stops. All right, well, after a very silly but mostly predictable series of events, I put on my rain gear, snowshoes, gone for about 5 minutes, took off my rain gear, snowshoes. Gonna continue up this ridge. Probably have to put at least the snowshoes back on as soon as I crest it. So we'll see. A lot of time wasted, but that's how this goes sometimes. All right, we got a bit off track getting here. It took way, way longer than it should have. But this is Lake Malachite. All right, that's Lake Malachite. It is just a detour. So we got to go back the way we came, back to the main trail, and then keep following it deeper into the wilderness as it snows on us. Shouldn't last too long, we'll see. Back on the main trail, next stop, Copper Lake. That one really shouldn't be that far away, so we should get there pretty quick. And yes, I'm still not wearing snowshoes. The snow is firm enough, and it's interspersed with enough dirt that I just don't want to bother putting them on yet. I think it's more hassle than it's worth. It's the rest of Copper Falls, the upper portion. What's that? Oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, as you just heard, there's a spot to cross over there. Welcome to Copper Lake. I had been considering crossing all of these logs and snow mix over here because me and another dude couldn't find an immediately obvious bridge, but he went back and looked for it and managed to track it down. So I'm not gonna do that stupid plan. I'm gonna go do the smart plan. And then we'll get a better look at the lake. That way, not this way. This is awfully convenient. Does not look like it would always be here. Copper Lake. A pretty special spot. And of course the sun goes right behind a cloud as soon as I turn the camera on, but you know, we've gotten a little bit of rain here and there, but it's hard to imagine the weather being better for mid-spring like this. That being said, it's supposed to get a lot better tomorrow, to the point of it being unhelpful almost how sunny it's going to be. I'll need to sunscreen for sure. We are, woo, big post hole. We are following Copper Lake quite closely, as you can see, and we'll continue to do so for about its entire length. And then we will have a pretty small climb up a valley to arrive at Little Heart. Can't walk and talk at the same time. To arrive at Little Heart Lake is going to be our next major destination. And after that, if we want to keep going, we got to do a little bit more serious uphill. These holes in the ice that you see, and it looks like everything kind of drains towards them. Very curious if those occur spontaneously, just via like physics forces, or if there are animals maintaining those holes for water entry or food or what. The going is very painfully slow over the mixed snow terrain. Where the trails half exposed and it's snow. And it's super closely hugging the lake, so everything's really steep, so you can't really go around anything. Because that would mean going super far down or super far up. So you're stuck with what the trail has to offer you. So we are not moving fast at all. We are finally leaving Copper Lake. That sucked. And are now in a glorious, somewhat open area where, wonder of wonders, if there is an obstacle, I can go around it. It's a beautiful idea. Time to try the snowshoes again. See if we can keep them on for longer than 10 minutes. They're also a lot more helpful now because mostly since Copper Lake, there's been no more boot path for me to follow, no more recent tracks for me to step in where the snow is already packed down and I can make that relatively quick progress. That's another reason why Copper Lake took so long. But when that was true on the snow, and it didn't make sense for me to wear these because, despite all the other reasons for me already to not wear them, but if there was essentially easy steps for me to walk in the whole way, then that's easy. Now, however, there's no one in front of me, and there probably hasn't been for at least weeks, possibly for a couple months, maybe more. So we're well and truly alone out here and forging our own path. Little Heart Lake, lake number 4 of this trip. As is so often the case on these trips, as I get into the afternoon, the amount of footage taken, particularly tripod footage, starts to dwindle as all the energy is going to trying to move further. There's not a lot to spare for thinking about filmmaking. All right, I've hit an obstacle. I don't know if the fisheye lens makes it look better or worse, but I'm basically supposed to head straight up that, which to me looks dangerously steep given current conditions and the softness of the snow. And I'm honestly just not feeling it, not feeling like taking that risk. Add that together with just the frankly catastrophically slow pace across the snow that I've been making. I did not expect it to be causing this much of a problem. I just think the loop idea, I'm not going to be able to make enough time to good enough time to do that over 2 nights. Not because there's not enough time in the day particularly, but more because the sketchy sections tomorrow, I need to get them all done in the morning before the snow starts to get mushy from the sun. And I am not gonna have time to do that, even though I'll be making slightly better time over that snow because it won't be mushy. It's just not gonna happen. And so I am gonna turn around, make a sensible, safe decision. A little bit disappointing, but I'm gonna head back down to Little Heart Lake. I'm gonna see if I can set up camp there, and then I will evaluate what tomorrow's gonna look like, and try not to get injured going back down to Little Heart Lake, because that would be a real bum deal after turning around. All right, we have made it back to Little Heart Lake with plenty of daylight left to burn. We need to cross this river in as careful a manner as possible and then find a place to set up in the flatter area over there. On this side, it's all very steeply sloped. There's no good campsites that I have seen, at least. So I'm gonna try to walk across these logs as safely as possible. I think that's the safest plan, is to go there. There's just these thinmans here to traverse, one in particular. Okay, a step here and then big step to that one right there. 1, 2, and 3. Good job. Just a little bit hairy. And then across there and onto the snow, which we pray will hold us. That would be ideal, really. Now, this looks thick enough that I should be able to walk on it fine. But I've thought that about a lot of snow today, and it has not always been true. Whew. It's true. Hooray. All right, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a good campsite right on the lake. We're a little ways off of it, which frankly should make us a lot more comfortable. We won't be quite as cold not being right on the lake. And it's nice to have a big spot like this with most of the snow melted, good hammocking trees. It'll keep us safe from the wind, largely safe from rain. It's going to be a good spot. I eyeballed it and was a little bit afraid the trees were going to be too far away from each other. It turns out they're actually a little bit too close. That's not a large problem, it just means the tarp's kind of ugly. It sags. That's better. Good morning. Welcome to day number 2. It is a beautiful bluebird day today. The sun is up over the ridge. There's sun hitting my campsite. You can see all the blue sky over there. It's just gorgeous up here. I had hoped that this was the weather, which I would be gloriously cresting ridges in the far high country completing my loop. But as we saw yesterday, that dream had to be set aside another time perhaps. So I had a nice little sleep in this morning, been pretty relaxed and leisurely, read some of my book, ate some food, and now I'm gonna be getting ready to head back down the trail the way I came towards Copper Lake. I don't know if I'll be spending the night there or potentially I might even go home today. Again, the loop's over, so I've gone as far as I'm gonna go. But I'm trying to get at least to Copper Lake, get past that really terrible section of trail along the lake that was really hard to get through, hopefully while the snow is still relatively firm, and from there we can make a decision. All packed up, ready to head out and enjoy a gloriously sunny day. A morning look at Little Heart Lake. We spent not very much time actually looking at the lake yesterday, but it is just a beautiful basin. lots of avalanche activity, especially over that way. You can see the trails going down all over the place. Hope this day doesn't start out with a splash. Which would be rather unfortunate. And it's a trap to use my poles here like this. It's just a way to get them broken and me to fall. I want my hands free to be able to catch myself, not rely on the poles in such a dense maze of logs. Okay, big step over to that. 1, 2, 3. Oh, success. Perfect. Goodbye, Little Heart Lake. It was a pleasure. My old nemesis, Copper Lake. In seriousness, this is going to be the sketchiest part of today. I'm hoping most of it is a lot safer and easier because of how much more firm the snow will be, and I'll be able to step in my own tracks. And I wasn't able to do that yesterday because I was making the tracks. The biggest question comes down to, there were significant portions of the trail that hugs the lake where I needed to be kick-stepping, kicking my feet into the snow in order to make steps for myself. And if the snow is more firm and icy, that becomes a lot harder. And the snow is also much more slippery, so in the event of a fall, I'm much more likely to be sent tumbling down to the lake rather than, as it would have been more likely yesterday, simply going straight down into the snow and being stuck in a little hole that I can get out of. As soon as I start recording, a plane flies overhead. If I recall correctly, this spot was the most questionable portion of the whole lake traverse. The good news is that it is very well shaded and should be quite firm. I hopefully can just follow my own footsteps down. Straight down, as it happens. Okay, through the straight downhill section is good. Very good. Let's avoid that post hole. All right. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right, I've made it all the way back to the outlet of Copper Lake, and I think I'm gonna head home from here. I have explored the area and found it to be delightful, but I'm also ready to be done with the snow. The optimistic goal of this trip to make it into a loop didn't happen, and so I feel like, hey, I've explored what I can explore. Let's get out of here. So I'm also gonna stop recording at this point because from here on out, it's just kind of downhill back to normal trail. Nothing much to show off. So thank you for joining me and for watching, and I will see you later.